Tina Homososa in Western Abenaki baptism. Nulhegan, land of weirs, woven fish traps, spanning sandy bottoms, anchored in tumble-down boulders. Surely trout lie here, hovering as hawks do, tails steering, spying breakfast, bottomless glass eyes, unflinching skywards. Lower lands lay in mountainous embrace, cold air fills stony arms, as rain a bucket. Springs rise, early meadow rue drinks, brooks prostrate downstream, singing as they gather. Grouse flush, heavy breasts inflate, wings like bellows fanning ancient fires. Mink scurries traplines along rooty embankment hideaways. Moose hooves plow trails, forest to swamp. Everyone is well fed. She lays a banquet. Mountains surround you, clans circling a fire, hands entwined. Monadnock Mountain East. Not the one you know. There are many lone mountains. Monadnock. This one lords over Potash Peaks. South sun warms French Mountain, Notch Mountain, Seneca Peak. Bluff Ridgeline hovers west. Sundown ends between lookout points. Black Mountain, Green Mountain, Lewis Mountain, Sable. North Range towers. Broad shoulders bear ancient birches, black and yellow. Rivers pull you in, cinching up ridges as grandmother's skirt held round her by dogbane rope. A map claims a point, far away low mountain, an address of numbers, given the name Headwaters. I do not believe it. Gore Peak climbing, Lewis Pond far below, my boot sinks, surprising me. Schlucking it out, where you issue, meeting daylight. Is it you, this other mountainside, chunky monzonite, weathering, weeping, a river's beginning? Each watery glint, winking to begin, like sleepy eyes, admiring dawn, smiling with the fall line, stayed by beaver. Unleashed spring runnings, winnowed in October's dying, bound in February's claw. Black spruce bog, yellow bog, bend to wetted knees. Porous mossy ladle, cupped hands, take a drink. Molly bog, moose bog, filling pitcher plants, silently treading sphagnum shores, wearing pink lady slippers, upwelling downhill. Shape wanderer, endless paths emerging from mists, coming darker, larger, channeling your presence. I see you now. Nulhegan Mother, you are all waters, all beginnings. Nulhegan Mother, bountiful one, grace, full, place, being, supranormal round, land and scape, surviving, metamorphic traumas, glacial oppression, clear cuts, tractor ruts, humans being. Lustrate your children, mushrooms burst after rain, turkeys housekeep for seeds. Snakes choose their climb, cattails tower, bobbing, aspen leaves twinkle, breezes carry goldenrod, licorice, orange, balsam. Nulhegan Mother, great provider, you are all beings through all times, growing, regrowing, as moose shakes off last year's antlers, returned to you. Resilient witness, mother of generations. Thus have you earned this veneration.
Pondicherry. Jupiter saddled the blood moon last night for its icy ride through the wild, cold sky. and with it the ambient rush of river, white as the moon and almost as constant. This night, like atoms of a cesium clock, like a resting heartbeat, accuracies lay in the rhythms. Orion approved, looked for the bull, alert to all contingencies. And so it went until eclipsed by the light. With the dawn sun, the woolly bears shuffle confidently along wood-framed paths, their sleek brown hairs erect as they hunch their way, unconcerned with shadow or yesterday, do the whatever that betters any what if.
The Dragonfly. Dragonfly waved her lovely, lace-knitted wings, overlooking cherry ponds today. Gratitude filled our silence, her inner world, dancing with thoughts in my own, thankful. Are these the mountains of her childhood too? Had they shaped her journey through this world? She sailed to the blueberries, sweet and ripe with connection to land, this land, presence. I left, thanked her for her time. Journeying on and down the trail, she greeted me again. Buzzing with joy, gratitude, Pondicherry, her home, my home, to new friends, to life.
Impressions at Fort River by Trish Crapo. Hadley, Massachusetts, fall 2022 through summer 2023. 1. Yellow light through yellow leaves and white breast of a hawk circling, flash against flash, and the wind shuffling through, releasing a sudden confetti. Each leaf drifted from the sky, accepted, a tiny skiff on the river's bright surface. 2. Brown vines woven through the last green leaves. November about to give way like these trees tumbled into one another, bound by bittersweet, and beyond, low mountains crouched just as they were 4 decades ago when I stared at them from my dorm window, Florida girl lost in her new landscape. 3. Ice locks the undulations of water around the trunks of trees. Some direction water wanted to go last night or last week. Eye of a lone birch stares through me. I'm too deep into winter to remember spring. 4. April too hot and green, still withheld, barely trembling in the highest branches, pale buds flickering at the gray twigs' tips. Woodpecker knocking. 5. A little before 4 p.m. the train goes by. Small planes burrow through clouds. On the drive here, cement platforms for storage units being laid on top of 6 feet of Connecticut river loam. 6. Little stream dried down to damp, lush with algae. What I remembered as broad ponds, now meadow. How astonishing, this small piece of earth remaking itself. 7. Late May, full on green, the air thick with dandelion pantomiming snow, though that is just me inventing. The wild blackberries in the waist-high grasses are real. Poison ivy gleaming red along the trail, piccolo trillings of birdsong, veils of delicate gnats, real. Everything stitched through with mosquitoes' long insistence. 8. Brown river mottled with tree shadows, surface shivered with currents pocked by the hunger of fish. Ducking under an olive branch, I litter the path with yellow flowers, celebrating what? 9. Entering an extravagance of green shivering all around me, I channel Lorca, whisper, green, how I want you, green. Leaves sparkling emerald. Even as I have so much, I can never have enough. Summer's promise expanding on this afternoon, languorous with walking. 10. If I was a tree toppling, if I fell like that, unencumbered, if you caught me, if we stood like that for 100 years, you holding me while I died. 11. Vines twined around vines, looped around branches, wound around trunks. One lucky black birch in a small clearing spirals, carrying the absence of its strangler. We say native. We say invasive. But what is our role here? Do we save one species from another? Can we save any of them from ourselves?
I'm reading 3 excerpts from my poem called 5 Interludes, written for the Fanny Stebbins Wildlife Refuge. The excerpts capture the refuge in late fall, in February, and on the cusp of summer. On this slip of a floodplain, the kinglets have landed, just in from Quebec, and egrets stop over on their way back to Florida. Canada geese circle lazily in a shimmer of water. A pair of bald eagles wheel overhead. West, through the scrubwood, the glint of a railbed. East, past a lacework of trees, the highway. Semi after semi pours by like a river. A plane glides in on the flight path to Bradley, while geese float and doze with heads under their wings. Wind blows up the slough and sets the pin oaks rattling, loud and louder. They have a story to tell. Their leaves quiver with it. The geese tremble, rouse, and gather. A meandering discussion begins. Now they flap their wings. Now they honk. Now they quiet. What to do next? Sleep or take off in a storm of mighty feathers? Which bed tonight? Everyone is rushing home. In the high, high trees, in a filigree of delicate twig and nub, tiny birds lead their private, sovereign lives. Of flat and open wood, of alder, cottonwood, silver maple, oak. The ordered disorder of bramble and grapevine, floodplain bordering the Connecticut with long fingers of marsh, cattails lit like candles by late afternoon sun. Silence. It sifts through everything, even the distant traffic. All is muted, grayed out, the vast winter sleep of dried shrub and straw, of hardened leafless trees, the patient roots waiting in the frozen ground. The ponds have exploded with algae and flowers, petals opening like the mouths of goslings. A lone swan flies off, water no longer a mirror but shifting tapestry, moss green tufted with tree snags and leaf saucers, all rooted in decay. Oh, there are geese, but they have camouflaged themselves over there in the cattails, slashes of black, brown, white. Now is the season for hatchlings, and the parents are circling, protecting. The air settles like fuzz, sticks to the skin, delivers endless ripplings, trillings, chitterings, tappings, squeakings, thumps. Songbirds and a bass bullfrog in concert against the muddied churn of traffic. And then, descendant and tinkling, a Veery's chandelier. More unstoppable than any highway, egg and seed pushed through mud and rot, agitating in shallows, clotting underfoot, strewn over asphalt, the light heavy with pollen, days rife, the doe having dropped her fawns, the coyote her pups, and the tight pink buds of water lilies burst the surface like nipples, 1,000-fold.
I'm a poet for the Connecticut River, and this is a poem called River Current. We pushed the maroon canoe from Canaan's concrete launch, leaving behind car and this tiny Vermont town for river rocks and riffles. Sarah and I clumsily paddled this loaded canoe, tents, pans, sleeping bags, food, and stuffed bunny jammed into dry bags around and off river rocks. Little girl just 2.5 rides between bow and stern, between mother and father, giggles erupting with every whitecap I steer us into. Later, as the river calms, as Mount Monadnock blazes in the distance, little girl naps upon dry bags as we paddle towards tonight's home. Later still, we camp on a sandy oxbow island, cook pasta over a hissing stove, enjoy cookies, wash dishes in sand, and rinse them in this brown-green river. Soon enough, little girl fades into our tent to the soft song of the upper Connecticut River on the night of her first river trip, her first overnight slept in a tent. Alone now with those buckshot stars above us, Sarah and I sit beside river, lukewarm beers in hand, and talk of canoeing, camping, sleeping little girls, big river day. In a quiet lull, I remember that other river I was born beside, and later canoed from headwater to brackish water, how rivers course through the veins of my ancestors and me. Today's paddle on the Connecticut River is little girl's first lesson in falling in love with rivers, with learning how rivers will forever current her downstream, but always towards home.
Welcome. My name is Marty Espinola, and my poems are about a local urban park that I've gladly adopted. Forest Park in Springfield, Massachusetts overlooks the Connecticut River Basin and is one of the largest urban parks in the country. It includes 740 acres of woodlands, hiking trails, aquatic gardens, flower gardens, and an outdoor amphitheater. It also has a variety of picnic areas and a lake for fishing. It is a major community athletic center, including a wide variety of playing fields, a large community swimming pool, and an indoor ice skating rink. One of the best-known features of the park is its zoo. Many adults in the Connecticut River Valley will remember visiting the zoo as children, as do I. They now bring their own children and grandchildren to see the animals and listen to the various educational programs. My first poem is called Summer in Forest Park. On the ridge above the kingdom of concrete rests a treasure of forested acres, a harbor for harried urbanites. The sky, naked of windows and wires, welcomes cloud shadows that roam restlessly over tangles of treetops. The woodland is host to a multitude of creatures. You can delight in deer and duck and dragonflies, appreciate even exotic animal species, alpaca, Arctic fox, and alligator. Ponds lie peaceful within its borders, their waters a serene sanctuary welcoming both fin and feather. Children run to the water's edge gleefully pointing at a bird or bug, their smiles blossoming at every new discovery. Among the ash, hickory, maple, and oak, one can explore ever-winding pathways as concealed critters call to one another, sprinkling the silence with their cryptic conversations. My steps here are cushioned by ages of earth as I stride lightly upon this protected land, hoping it will remain a nurturing retreat, freely welcoming the footfalls of future generations. A hunter in the park. The hunter poses on the far shore, standing stiff within the shallows, staring intently at the reflections of the sky below. Plumage blending with weeds and reeds, it waits for its meal to be served. The strike comes suddenly and swiftly. The feast is swallowed, still struggling, and with a contented stretch and a shake, the heron returns to its stance at the table, waiting for the next meal to be served. The brooks of Forest Park. Within spirited and shy waters, silver sparkles blink, dancing on beams of sunlight to the tones of torrents past. Stones rest secure in the beds, massaged by swirling streams, content to be aging with grace, sometimes daring to be dislodged. The brook bends with easy grace, carving circuitous paths, carelessly spreading life, flowing ever towards some future home. The geese above. I wonder as I watch the arrows of wild geese, horizons seeming their perpetual destination, as they endlessly wave their wings to some avian god, each of them preparing the way for the one behind. Do they follow because they trust the leader knows the way, or is there trust in something beyond sight, in some spiritual skyscape within each of them? It makes me wonder, is the destination as important as just being part of the flock, knowing you'll get there together, trusting in each other? I wonder. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Stacy Lawrence. I'll be reading Writing the Land, and this is the Connecticut River collection, which was edited by Dr. McLaughlin. My poem is in the Friends of the Holcomb Farm section of the book. It is called Writing the Land. I click-clack on computer keys clogged in cheddar cheese and crumbs of poem which glare back from a screen of general schmutz and last night's ashes. Caps lock is stuck again, so I apply pressure and holler at all of this late night writing in a mess that I love. In my own room I lie, with rain and Mozart under open window between the Ides of March, swaddling tight like crisp, undiscovered bills beneath a white duvet, like some unraveling Scooby-Doo mummy ashing in your teacup still under wrinkled ivory sheets, and it is starting to snow.
At Powder Hollow Trail, Scantic River State Park, Enfield, Connecticut. I take the rubbled path from the parking lot, meander down to the river, hear its spry gurgle long before I see it, rushing over the glistened rocks. I'm in the thrall of dragonflies. I hold back, try not to go in the water, though I'm drawn to it, to feel its forested coolness. I stand still where lather laces shoreline, watch the whoosh, and imagine riding it. Put out of my mind the stuffed drawers at home, the boiling ocean, my family fractured by loss in the ether of the stream. Let those recurring thoughts and burdensome intrusions evaporate. Instead, a turtle's shell with its patterned scoots, a shrill of blackbird in the understory, a shimmer of insect noise. And two, I'm surrounded by carnage of predation, always the code of the saplinged and treed woodlands. I seek the peace of life's cycle, even with its predicted loss. You're never far from death. A meander in the woods proves it. Now, a whip of light so substantial illuminates a narrow, rocky span where water barely trickles through. I feel a switch in my breath. Flesh quivers. My heart skips. I fall heavy into the day's arms.
Transformative. Running through and below the city of Hartford, a gasping river refuses to surrender. A lone paper bag from a discarded lunch floats on her surface, and a California sewage plant mines her elixir. But on a treasure hunt through the metropolis, she curves her body beneath a road, settles by a parking lot, babbles below a grate, and for a few miles runs freely. I wish I could wander her banks and sip the water, watch insects hop across her surface, pray for a resurgence, turn back time, love the river, recognize the miracle in our backyards.
Palmer Warner House, East Haddam, Connecticut. Writing the Land poet, Laurel Peterson. Summer. Starlings rise from the field, as if a conductor raised his baton and the feathered orchestra responded. I sit to listen to life here. Let it listen to me. The hawk already knows. Her skreel warns. But whom? And of what? For sure, I am too near her tree. Clutches of feathers salt the mown hay. Evidence of death's sudden slap. Feeding. A snake has slipped its skin, leaving a translucent testament behind. And I don't think until later that he is still here, slithering in the tall grass.